The stars were quiet around the destroyed mining colony. Chunks of metal and rock floated in the darkness where the station used to be. Nothing moved except for the slow spin of debris. Then the Zelathi science vessel appeared. The Eternal Wisdom dropped out of hyperspace like a silver fish breaking through water. It was beautiful in the way all Zelathi ships were beautiful. Its hull curved in perfect mathematical patterns. Energy shields wrapped around it in layers of blue light. Commander Vexhai stood on the bridge, his forearms clasped behind his back. His purple skin shimmered under the soft lights. The Zelathi were an old race. They had been traveling the stars for 10,000 years. They knew the rules of space. They understood how things worked. "Report," Vexhai said. His voice sounded like wind chimes. "The mining colony is completely destroyed, Commander," said Officer Tranell from her scanning station. "No survivors? No emergency beacons. The destruction happened approximately 3 days ago." "Pirates?" Vexhai asked. "Unknown. But Commander, we are detecting something else. There is a ship nearby. It appears to be drifting." Vexhai turned his large eyes toward the main screen. "Show me." The screen flickered and showed a ship unlike anything in the Zelathi database. It was ugly. That was the first thing everyone on the bridge thought. Where Zelathi ships were smooth and elegant, this thing was all angles and blocks. It looked like someone had welded metal boxes together and called it a ship. The hull was dark gray, almost black in some places. Scorch marks covered large sections. Some parts looked melted and then frozen again. "What is that thing?" asked Subcommander Kretok. His voice showed his disgust. "Unknown design, Subcommander. The computer has no match in our records. The configuration is primitive. The hull appears to be made of steel and titanium alloys. Very basic materials." Vexhai moved closer to the screen. The ship was big, he had to admit that. Maybe 3 times the size of the Eternal Wisdom. But size meant nothing in space combat. Technology was everything, and this ship looked like it came from a museum. "Life signs?" he asked, scanning now. "Yes, Commander. We are reading approximately 300 biological signatures. They appear to be in some form of stasis or deep sleep. Any active weapons? None that we can detect. Their reactor is running at minimum power. Most systems appear to be offline." Vexhai thought for a moment. The Zelathi hegemony had rules about first contact. They were supposed to gather information, understand what they were dealing with before making contact. And this ship was clearly from an unknown species. "Can we identify the species?" he asked. "Not without a deeper scan, Commander. The hull is surprisingly thick. Our passive sensors cannot penetrate it fully." "Then we follow protocol. Prepare for a deep scan. All sensors to maximum. I want to know everything about that ship and whoever built it." Kretok shifted nervously. "Commander, perhaps we should wait for a military escort. If this ship destroyed the mining colony, look at it, Subcommander," Vexhai said with confidence. "That thing looks like it can barely hold itself together. Those scorch marks probably came from them flying too close to a star. No species using such primitive materials could pose a threat to us." He was wrong, but he would not know that for another few minutes. "Initiating deep scan," Tranell announced. The Eternal Wisdom sensors came alive. Invisible beams of energy reached out toward the ugly ship. They penetrated the thick hull, mapping every corridor, every room, every system. Data began flowing back to the Zelathi computers. "Commander, I am reading text on the hull. It appears to be in an unknown language." "Wait, the computer is translating. The ship is called—" Tranell paused. "Yuan's Vengeful Phoenix. The species identifies themselves as humans." Humans. Vexhai had never heard the word before. "Continue the scan. More data poured in." The bridge crew watched their screens with growing confusion. The ship's internal structure made no sense. The corridors were too wide. The doors were too thick. Everything was built like it was meant to survive an explosion from inside. "Commander," said Tranell, her voice now worried, "I am detecting something unusual. The radiation levels inside that ship are extremely high, far above what should be safe for biological life. Perhaps their species is naturally resistant to radiation," Vexhai suggested. "Perhaps. But Commander, these scorch marks on the hull, I am analyzing them now. They match the pattern of plasma weapon impacts. Multiple impacts. Hundreds of them. So they have been in battle. Yes, but that is not the strange part. The strange part is that these impacts should have destroyed the ship. Any one of them should have melted through hull plating of this thickness. But they did not." The armor held, Vexhai frowned. That was impossible. Steel and titanium could not withstand plasma weapons. Every species in the galaxy knew that. There must be an error in your readings, he said. I am checking now. No error, Commander. And there is something else. The ship's reactor. It is not like anything I have seen before. The energy readings are wrong. Wrong how? I cannot explain it. The computer says it is impossible. The reactor appears to be creating more energy than it should be able to. It violates the 3 fundamental laws of energy. Now Vexhai was really frowning. The 3 fundamental laws were not something you could violate. They were the basis of all physics. Every civilization in the galaxy accepted them as absolute truth. Continue the scan. There must be an explanation. But as more data came in, the explanation did not come. Instead, things got stranger. The weapon systems on the human ship were beyond primitive. They used magnetic rails to launch solid projectiles. Kinetic weapons. The Zalathi had stopped using kinetic weapons 5,000 years ago. They were obsolete. Energy weapons were so much more efficient. But these kinetic weapons were different. The magnetic accelerators were massive. The power requirements were insane. The projectiles themselves were made of materials the computer could not identify. Commander, Kretok said suddenly, something is happening on the human ship. Vexhai looked at the screen. Lights were turning on across the dark vessel. One by one, like stars appearing in the night sky. Their reactor is increasing output, Trenell reported. Systems are coming online. Are they waking up? Unknown. But Commander, I'm detecting something else. Their computer systems, they are active. They have been active this whole time. What do you mean? I mean they have been scanning us back. Using our own scanning beam as a carrier wave. They are reading our systems, our shields, our... Tranell's purple face went pale. Commander, they have our complete ship schematics. They know where every crew member is standing. Vexhai felt a cold sensation in his chest. That is impossible. Our security systems, they went through them like they were not there. Commander, these humans, their computer technology is beyond anything we have seen. The bridge was silent for a moment. Then a sound came through the communication system. It was a voice speaking in perfect Zalathi. The translation was flawless, but something about it sounded wrong. Dangerous. Attention, unknown vessel. This is Captain Harrison of the UNS Vengeful Phoenix. You have performed an unauthorized deep scan of a human military vessel. This is considered an act of aggression under Human Naval Code Section 7. You will cease all scanning immediately and prepare to be boarded for inspection. Vexahai almost laughed. This primitive ship was threatening them. Open a channel, he ordered. When the light turned green, he spoke. Captain Harrison, this is Commander Vexhai of the Zalathi Hegemony science vessel Eternal Wisdom. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration. We meant no aggression. We were simply following first contact protocols. There was a pause. Then the human spoke again. Commander Vexhai, you have 10 seconds to lower your shields and surrender your vessel. This is your only warning. Now Vexhai did laugh. Captain, I think you are confused about the situation. Your ship is primitive. Your weapons are obsolete. We have no wish for violence, but if you threaten us, we will defend ourselves. 5 seconds, Commander. Vexhai looked at his crew. They all shared the same expression of disbelief. These humans were actually going to attack them with their ancient ship. Raise shields to maximum. Charge all defensive weapons. Let us show these humans what real technology looks like. The Eternal Wisdom's shields flared to life, surrounding the ship in layers of blue energy. Weapon ports opened along the elegant hull. The Zalathi crew prepared for what they thought would be a quick lesson in superiority. They had no idea what they had just awakened. The scan data filled every screen on the bridge of the Eternal Wisdom. Officer Trenell worked through the information as fast as she could, but each new piece of data made less sense than the last. Commander, I need you to see this, she said. Her 4 hands moved across her console like a musician playing an instrument. Vexhai walked over to her station. The 10 seconds the human captain had given them had passed. Nothing had happened yet. The ugly human ship just sat there in space, all its lights now on, its reactor humming with power. What am I looking at? Vexhai asked. The internal structure of their armor, Commander. Our scans show it has over 40 layers. 40? That was absurd. Zalathi ships had 3 layers of armor, and that was considered excessive by most standards. Yes, but that is not the strange part. Each layer is made of different materials. Some I recognize, steel, titanium, ceramics, but others, Commander, the computer says these materials should not exist. The molecular structure is impossible. She brought up a detailed view of one section. The image showed atoms arranged in patterns that hurt to look at. They were too perfect, too dense. This layer here, Tranell pointed. The computer says it is matter compressed to a degree we cannot achieve. It would take the gravity of a star to create this, but it is uniform across the entire hull. They must have found it somewhere, a natural phenomenon. No, Commander. It is too perfect. Too deliberate. They made this. Somehow these humans made this. Kretok called out from his station. Commander, more systems are coming online on the human ship. I am detecting. This cannot be right. What is it? Weapon systems. Hundreds of them. No, thousands. The entire hull is covered in weapon ports. Energy weapons. No, Commander. Kinetic weapons. All of them. Railguns, rotary cannons, missile tubes. They are like something from a history simulation. Vexhai wanted to laugh again, but something stopped him. The feeling in his chest was getting worse. Why would any species put so much effort into obsolete weapons? Analyze their ammunition, he ordered. Kretok worked his console. Then he went very still. Sub-Commander, Vexhai prompted. The railgun projectiles, Commander. They are made of the same impossible material as their armor.
And the magnetic accelerators?
The power readings are off the scale. If these numbers are correct, they can launch these projectiles at 20% of light speed. The bridge went silent. 20% of light speed was impossible for a kinetic weapon. The energy required would be enormous. The projectile would need to be perfect to survive the launch. And the damage it would cause, that would go through our shields like they were not there, someone whispered. Shields are designed to stop energy, not solid matter moving that fast, Tranell confirmed. Our shields would actually make it worse. The interaction between the shield energy and the projectile would create an explosion. Vexhai's mind raced. This could not be happening. These humans were using primitive technology, but had somehow made it more dangerous than modern weapons. What about their missiles? He asked. Kretok checked. Chemical propulsion, Commander. Primitive rockets, but the warheads? Nuclear? Some of them. Others are... I do not know. The computer cannot identify the energy signature. It says it is similar to antimatter but more stable. That is impossible. You cannot make antimatter stable. I know, Commander. But the readings are clear. Vexhai looked at the main screen. The human ship sat there, ugly and blocky and impossible. How had these humans done this? How had they taken basic technology and made it terrifying? Commander, Tranell said urgently, I am analyzing their power systems in more detail. Their reactor. It is not just violating the 3 laws, it is using them differently. What do you mean? I mean they found a way around them. Instead of trying to create energy within the laws, they are bending space around the reactor, creating a pocket where the laws work differently. That would require understanding of physics beyond anything we have. Yes, Commander, it would. The implications hit everyone at once. These humans were not primitive. They were not using old technology because they did not know better. They were using it because they had made it better than new technology. Their computer systems, Vexhai said suddenly. You said they scanned us back. How? Tranell pulled up that data. It is like nothing I have seen. Their computers are not quantum-based like ours. They use something else. The processing appears to be biological? Biological computers. Partially. It is a hybrid system. Electronic, quantum, and biological components working together. The processing speed is beyond our quantum systems. And, Commander, the battle computer is learning. Learning? Yes, it has been analyzing our shields since the scan began. It knows every frequency, every harmonic, every weak point. It could probably take our shields down with a single shot to the right location. Vexhai felt fear now. Real fear. The Zelathi had not felt fear of another species in thousands of years. Commander, Kretok shouted. The human ship is moving. On the screen, the vengeful phoenix had started a slow turn. Its ugly hull pivoted in space, bringing its side to face the eternal wisdom. Hundreds of weapon ports were visible, all of them opening. They are targeting us, Kretok reported unnecessarily. Evasive maneuvers, Vexhai ordered, but then Tranell said something that made everyone freeze. Commander, I found something in their database, something they let us see. What? Information about their species. Humans come from a Class 12 death world. The bridge went silent again. Class 12 was theoretical. No one had ever found a Class 12 death world with life on it. The gravity, radiation, tectonic activity, and predators would make evolution impossible. That cannot be right, Vexai said. It is, Commander. Their homeworld Earth has everything. Extreme weather, active tectonics, high gravity, background radiation, and they evolved surrounded by predators. They are predators themselves. Show me more. Tranel brought up images from the human database. The crew gasped. Humans were bipedal with only 2 arms. They looked soft, fragile even. But the images of their history told a different story. They saw humans fighting wars with weapons that would have horrified any civilized species. They saw humans surviving in conditions that would kill a Zalathi in minutes. They saw humans doing things that should not be possible, lifting weights that their muscles should not be able to handle, surviving injuries that should be fatal, continuing to fight when they should be dead. Their entire history is war. Tranel said quietly. They have been fighting each other for as long as they have existed. They got to space not through cooperation but through competition. They built weapons before they built anything else. And this ship? Vexai asked. Tranel pulled up the information. The Vengeful Phoenix, commissioned 50 Earth years ago, classification, patrol vessel. Light cruiser. Light cruiser? This thing is a light cruiser? Yes, Commander. According to their database, they have ships 10 times this size. Ships they call battleships and dreadnoughts. Vexai felt his legs go weak. If this monster was just a patrol vessel, what were their real warships like? There is more, Commander, Tranel said. The ship's history. It has been in 17 major engagements. It has been destroyed twice. Destroyed? Yes, completely destroyed. But they rebuilt it each time. The same frame, the same name. They would not let it die. Why? Tranel pulled up one more piece of information. Because of what happened to its first crew. They were ambushed by pirates while protecting a colony ship full of families. The ship was destroyed, but the crew kept fighting even as it broke apart. They broadcast their last message for 3 hours as they died, making sure the pirates' location was known. The colony ship escaped, she paused. Humans rebuilt the ship to honor them. They call it the Vengeful Phoenix because it rose from death to seek vengeance. And, Commander, look at its battle record after that. The list appeared on the screen. 17 battles, 17 victories. No survivors on the enemy ships. They do not just fight to win, Tranel said. They fight to make an example. A new voice came through the communication system. Captain Harrison again, but now they could see him on the screen. He was smaller than a Zalathi, with only 2 arms and strange patches of fur on his head. He looked soft. But his eyes were those of a predator. Commander Vexai, the human said. You did not surrender. That was a mistake. But I am going to give you one more chance. You are a science vessel. You probably did not know what you were doing. So here is what is going to happen. The human leaned forward. You are going to send a message to your hegemony. You are going to tell them that human space is off limits. Any ship that enters without permission will be considered hostile. Any ship that scans us without permission will be destroyed. No exceptions. And if we refuse? Vexai asked, trying to sound braver than he felt. The human smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Then we will board your ship, take the information we need, and use your vessel to send a different kind of message. Unwritten in wreckage and debris, you cannot board us. Your shields mean nothing to us, Commander. We have been transporting matter through energy fields for over 100 years. Your shields are just energy fields. Better than ours, maybe, but still just energy. As if to prove his point, something appeared on the bridge of the Eternal Wisdom. The metal cylinder on the bridge of the Eternal Wisdom vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. No flash of light, no sound. Just gone. Commander Vexai stood frozen for a moment. His mind tried to process what had just happened. The humans had teleported an object through their shields, through shields that were supposed to be impenetrable. Commander, Kretok said urgently, we need to respond. Vexai looked at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for orders. He was the commander. He had to make a decision. He thought about the scan data, the impossible armor, the weapons that should not work but did, the computer systems that had read their ship like an open book. And he thought about the human captain's eyes, those predator eyes. But he also thought about the Zalathi hegemony. They were one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They had fought wars before. They had won wars before. These humans might be dangerous, but they were still just one ship. No, Vexai said finally. We will not be threatened. We are Zalathi. We are not afraid of primitives with upgraded weapons. He turned to Kretok. Target their weapon systems. Fire a warning shot across their bow. Show them what real technology can do. Kretok hesitated. Commander, are you sure that is an order? Kretok nodded and worked his console. The Eternal Wisdom's weapons powered up. Beautiful blue energy gathered at the ship's weapon ports. Firing, Kretok announced. A beam of pure energy lanced out from the Zalathi ship. It was perfectly aimed, passing just meters above the vengeful Phoenix's hull. The energy was so intense that it should have caused secondary damage just from proximity. But the human ship did not even flinch. No damage to the human vessel, Kretok reported, confused. Their armor did not even heat up. Before anyone could respond, Captain Harrison's voice came through the communications system. That was your warning shot? How polite. Here is ours. The vengeful Phoenix fired. It was not what the Zalathi expected. There was no gathering of energy, no buildup of power. One moment the human ship was still. The next moment space itself seemed to tear apart. A single projectile launched from the human ship's railgun. It moved so fast that the Zalathi sensors could barely track it. 20% of light speed, just as Kretok had calculated. The projectile was no bigger than Vexai's fist, but it carried more kinetic energy than a small asteroid. It passed through the space between the two ships in less than a second. It hit the Eternal Wisdom's shields and proved the Zalathi's worst fears correct. The shields, designed to stop energy, tried to stop the projectile. But the interaction between the shield energy and the impossible matter of the projectile created a reaction none of them had predicted. The shields did not just fail. They exploded. The explosion rocked the Eternal Wisdom. Console screen shattered. Crew members were thrown to the floor. The lights flickered and died, replaced by the red glow of emergency power. Shields are down, Tranel shouted over the alarms. Complete failure across all generators. That was one shot, Kretok said in disbelief. They took down our shields with one shot. Return fire, Vexai ordered. All weapons! The Eternal Wisdom's weapons fired. Beams of energy struck the vengeful Phoenix's hull. The ugly human ship was bathed in blue light as enough energy to destroy a small moon poured into it. But when the firing stopped, the human ship was still there. Its armor glowed red in some places, but it was intact. No significant damage, Kretok reported. His voice was hollow. Their armor absorbed the energy. How? I do not know, Commander. It should not be possible. Captain Harrison appeared on the screen again. He did not look angry. He looked disappointed. Commander Vexai, that was stupid. Now we do this the hard way. The screen went dark. Then new alarms started screaming. Multiple launches detected, Kretok shouted. The human ship is firing. Everything. The vengeful Phoenix erupted. Every weapon port opened at once. Railguns fired in sequence, each projectile timed perfectly. Missile tubes launched their payloads. Point defense cannons created a web of smaller projectiles. But the most terrifying thing was the boarding pods. Incoming objects, Tranel called out. 20. 30 small craft. They are heading straight for us. Shoot them down. I am trying. But Commander, they are not showing up on targeting sensors. They are invisible to our systems. Vexai watched the main screen in horror. The boarding pods were not beautiful like Zalathi craft. They were ugly metal boxes with engines attached. But they moved through space like living things, dodging and weaving. The railgun projectiles arrived first. Without shields, the Eternal Wisdom had only its armor. The armor was good, some of the best in the galaxy. It lasted about 2 seconds. The first projectile hit the lower hull. It punched through the armor like it was paper. The projectile kept going, tearing through deck after deck before exiting the other side of the ship. The second and third projectiles hit the engine section. The Eternal Wisdom shuddered and began to drift. Then the missiles arrived. They did not explode against the hull. They penetrated first, burying themselves deep in the ship before detonating. The explosions were not nuclear. They were something worse. The energy readings made no sense, but the damage was clear. Entire sections of the ship just ceased to exist. Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7. Someone shouted, "Engineering is not responding. We have lost main power." And then the boarding pods hit. They did not land in the docking bays. They punched through the hull and embedded themselves in the ship. Each pod was like a metal parasite, attaching itself to the Eternal Wisdom's body. "They are cutting through the inner hull," Tranel reported. "Security teams to all breach points." But even as she said it, Vexhai knew it was too late. The Zalathi security teams were not prepared for what came out of those pods. The first human appeared on the bridge's security monitor. Vexhai had expected something small and weak-looking, based on Captain Harrison's appearance. What he saw was something else entirely. The human stood over 2 meters tall and was covered in armor that looked like it weighed more than a Zalathi. The armor was not elegant. It was all sharp angles and thick plates. The helmet had no face, just a black visor that reflected the corridor lights. The human carried a weapon that looked like it had been designed by someone who had never heard of subtlety. It was a massive chunk of metal and polymer that the human held like it weighed nothing. The Zalathi security team fired their energy weapons. The beams hit the human directly. The armor absorbed the hits without even scorching. The human fired back. The weapon did not fire energy beams. It fired chemical-propelled projectiles. Ancient technology. Primitive technology. But the projectiles tore through the Zalathi security officers like they were made of soft gel. The security officers wore light armor designed to stop energy weapons. The human projectiles went through it without slowing down. 3 Zalathi died in the first second. The others tried to retreat, but the human moved faster than should have been possible for something in that much armor. It crossed the corridor in 2 strides and grabbed one officer with its free hand. The armor must have had strength enhancement, because the human lifted the Zalathi officer off the ground with one hand. The officer struggled, hitting the armor with all 4 arms. The human did not seem to notice. Then more humans appeared. They moved down the corridors in perfect formation, covering each other's angles. They did not spray fire wildly. Every shot was aimed. Every shot killed. "Commander!" Tranel shouted. "They are heading for the bridge." "And engineering." "And the computer core. They know exactly where everything is." Of course they did. The scanning device had mapped the entire ship. The humans knew every corridor, every room, every defensive position. "Seal the bridge," Vexhai ordered. The heavy doors slammed shut. They were made of reinforced alloy, designed to withstand hull breaches and radiation. They should hold for hours. They held for 30 seconds. The humans did not try to cut through them. They placed small devices on the doors and stepped back. The explosion was small, controlled. It did not damage anything except the doors, which simply fell off their hinges. 6 humans entered the bridge. The Zalathi crew backed away, some raising their hands in surrender. The humans ignored them. 5 of them took positions covering the entrances. The 6th walked directly to Vexhai. This human was different. The armor was the same, but it had markings on it, symbols that probably meant rank or achievements. The human stopped in front of Vexhai and reached up to its helmet. The helmet came off with a hiss of escaping air. Inside was a human face. Female, Vexhai thought, though it was hard to tell with aliens. She had dark skin and no fur on her head. Her eyes were brown and cold. "Commander Vexhai," she said in accented but understandable Zalathi. "I am Major Chen, United Nations Marine Corps. This ship is now under human control." "This is an act of war," Vexhai said, trying to keep his voice steady. "No," Major Chen said. "This is an act of self-defense. You scanned a human military vessel without permission. In human space, that is considered an act of espionage. The penalty for espionage during a time of tension is death. We are not at war. No, but we are not at peace either. We have had no formal contact with your species. That makes this a time of tension." She gestured to one of her Marines who brought over a data pad. Major Chen stood perfectly still as Commander Vexhai composed his message to the Zalathi hegemony. Her Marines had not moved from their positions. They were like statues made of metal and violence. Tranel worked at her console, preparing the communication system. Her 4 hands shook slightly as she typed. Every few seconds she glanced at the humans. They never glanced back. They just watched everything at once. "Connection established, Commander," Tranel said softly. "The Hegemony Council is waiting." Vexhai stood straighter. Even in defeat, he tried to maintain some dignity. The main screen flickered to life, showing the grand chamber of the Hegemony Council. 12 ancient Zalathi sat in a semicircle, their purple skin wrinkled with age and wisdom. "Commander Vexhai," the Elder Prime said, "your communication was marked as urgent. What has happened?" Vexai glanced at Major Chen. She nodded once. Elder Prime, honored council, Vexai began. We have made first contact with a new species. They call themselves humans. Excellent, the Elder Prime said. What level of technology do they possess? Are they ready to join the galactic community? Elder Prime? Vexai paused. How could he explain this? The humans are different, he told them everything. The destroyed mining colony, the ugly ship drifting in space, the scan that revealed impossible technology, the warning they ignored, the battle that lasted less than 5 minutes. As he spoke, he shared the scan data. The council members leaned forward, their large eyes growing wider with each revelation. This cannot be accurate, one council member said. Kinetic weapons defeating energy shields, armor that violates physics. You must have made an error. There is no error, Vexai said. The humans have found ways around the laws we thought were absolute. They have taken primitive technology and made it superior to our own. Show us these humans, the Elder Prime commanded. Major Chen stepped forward. She removed her helmet again, revealing her human face to the council. Several members pulled back in surprise. I am Major Sarah Chen of the United Nations Marine Corps, she said in perfect Zalathi. Their translation technology was clearly superior as well. I speak on behalf of Captain Harrison and, by extension, humanity. You attacked a Zalathi science vessel, the Elder Prime said. This is an act of war. No, Major Chen said calmly. Your vessel performed an unauthorized deep scan of a human military ship. This is an act of espionage. We responded with appropriate force. Appropriate. You crippled their ship. We allowed them to live. That was mercy. The council went silent. The way she said it, so matter-of-fact, sent chills through everyone watching. What do you want? The Elder Prime asked finally. Peace, Major Chen said. Humanity wants peace. We have no desire to conquer or destroy. We want to explore, to learn, to trade, but we will defend ourselves. Any ship that enters human space without permission will be considered hostile. Any scan of human vessels without authorization will be treated as an act of war. You cannot dictate terms to the Zalathi hegemony. We are one of the most powerful. Major Chen held up her hand and, surprisingly, the Elder Prime stopped talking. Let me explain something about humanity, she said. We come from a world you would call a death world. Class 12, according to your classification system. Everything on our planet tried to kill us. The weather, the animals, the plants, even other humans. We survived by being more dangerous than everything else. She paused, letting that sink in. We have been at war for our entire existence. Not small conflicts. Total wars. Wars where entire civilizations were destroyed. We have weapons that can crack planets. We have viruses that can eliminate entire species. We have developed ways to kill that you cannot imagine. One of the council members laughed nervously. You exaggerate. No species could survive such. Would you like a demonstration? Major Chen asked. She nodded to one of her Marines, who brought over a small device. It was about the size of a Zalathi's hand, black and featureless. This is a quantum disruptor, Major Chen explained. It is a mining tool on human worlds. We use it to break apart asteroids, but if I activate it here, it will create a cascade reaction that will turn this entire ship into its component atoms in approximately 6 seconds. The council members all started talking at once. Major Chen waited for them to quiet down. I will not activate it, she said, because we do not want to kill. But understand this, that device is considered primitive by human standards. We have had that technology for over a century. The weapons we have now make that look like a child's toy. She let the device be taken away and continued. But here is what you really need to understand about humanity. We do not just fight to win. We fight to ensure that no one ever fights us again. We have a doctrine called mutual assured destruction. It means that if you attack us, we will destroy you completely, even if it means our own destruction. That is insane, the Elder Prime said. Yes, Major Chen agreed. It is, but it works. No human nation has used nuclear weapons against another in over 200 years, because everyone knows what would happen. She pulled up something on her datapad and shared it with the screen. It was a view of human space. Hundreds of star systems, thousands of ships, worlds covered in cities that stretched from pole to pole. We have been in space for 300 years, she said. We have colonized 400 systems. We have a population of 300 billion. Our military has 50,000 ships like the Vengeful Phoenix, and that ship is 50 years old. It is one of our smallest, weakest vessels. The council was silent now. They were doing the math. If the vengeful Phoenix could disable their best science vessel in minutes, what could 50,000 of them do? But, Major Chen continued, her voice softening slightly, we do not want war. War is expensive. War is wasteful. We would rather trade. We have technology you might find useful. Medical techniques that can extend life. Agricultural methods that can feed billions. Energy systems that can power entire worlds. What do you want in return? The Elder Prime asked. Respect, Major Chen said simply. Treat us as equals. Do not scan our ships without permission. Do not enter our space uninvited. Follow the same rules you would follow with any sovereign nation. And if someone attacks you, if pirates or raiders, then God help them, Major Chen said. Because we will not. She let that hang in the air for a moment before continuing. 3 days ago, the mining colony in this system was destroyed. We investigated. It was pirates, a group calling themselves the Red Talons. They killed 3,000 civilians. We have been searching for them, the Elder Prime started. We found them, Major Chen interrupted. 2 hours ago. They no longer exist. You destroyed their ships. We destroyed everything. Ship's base, the asteroid they were hiding in. There is nothing left but dust. The casual way she said it was more terrifying than any threat. The humans had found and eliminated a pirate group that the Zalathi had been hunting for months. They did it in hours. And they acted like it was routine. Commander Vexhai, Major Chen said, turning back to him. Tell them about the battle computer. Vexhai nodded. The human ship's computer system is beyond anything we have seen. It analyzed our shields and weapons in real time. It learned our weaknesses instantly and, the Elder Prime prompted. And it was playing with us. The computer showed multiple solutions to disable our ship. The humans chose the one that would cause the least casualties. They could have destroyed us in seconds, but they chose to disable us instead. Why? One council member asked. Major Chen answered. Because dead people cannot learn. We want you to understand us. We want you to know that we are not enemies unless you make us enemies. But if you do make us enemies, she put her helmet back on. Through the speakers, her voice became mechanical again. There is a human saying, may God have mercy on our enemies because we won't. Remember that. She nodded to her Marines. They began moving toward the door. Wait, the Elder Prime called out. You are just leaving? Major Chen turned back. Our engineers have repaired your engines and life support. You can make it back to hegemony space. Your weapons and shields will take longer to fix. Consider that a reminder of this conversation. What about formal diplomatic relations?
Send a diplomatic vessel to these coordinates, she transmitted a set of numbers.
Unarmed. No escorts. We will meet you there in 1 month. We can discuss trade agreements and borders. She started to leave, then stopped. Oh, and Elder Prime, the scan data your ship collected on the vengeful Phoenix, we let you see what we wanted you to see. Our real capabilities are classified. But I can tell you this, you saw maybe 10% of what that ship can do. The humans left the bridge. Through the windows, Vexhai watched their boarding pods detach and fly back to the vengeful Phoenix. The ugly human ship turned slowly, its weapons finally powering down. Then it did something impossible. It opened a hole in space. Not a hyperspace window like the Zalathi used. An actual tear in reality. The ship flew through and disappeared. They have wormhole technology, Trenell whispered. They can go anywhere instantly. The bridge was silent except for the still active communication channel. The Hegemony Council sat in their chamber looking stunned. Finally, the Elder Prime spoke. Commander Vexhai, return to Hegemony space immediately. We need to discuss this. And, Commander? Yes, Elder Prime? The journey back to Hegemony space took 3 weeks. The Eternal Wisdom limped through hyperspace, its engines barely functioning, its hull scarred with holes that had been patched but not repaired. The crew was quiet during the journey. They all had the same look in their eyes, the look of people who had seen something that changed everything. Commander Vexhai spent most of the time in his quarters, studying the scan data. Every time he looked at it, he found something new that should not exist. The humans had broken every rule, violated every law of physics that the Zalathi held sacred, and they had done it on purpose. When they finally arrived at the Hegemony capital, they found the entire fleet waiting for them. 200 warships, the pride of the Zalathi military, formed an honor guard around the damaged science vessel. But Vex-High noticed something. The warships kept their weapons powered down. Their shields were up, but at minimum strength. They were being careful not to appear threatening. The humans had scared them that much. The council chamber was full when Vex-High arrived. Not just the 12 council members, but hundreds of officials, scientists, and military leaders. They all wanted to hear about the humans. "Tell us everything," the Elder Prime commanded. "Every detail." So Vex-High did. He started from the beginning and left nothing out. He showed them the scan data, the battle recordings, the conversation with Major Chen. He explained about the impossible armor, the kinetic weapons that could pierce any shield, the computer system that learned faster than anything they had seen. When he was done, the chamber was silent for a long time. Finally, a military commander spoke up. "We need to prepare for war. These humans are clearly aggressive." "They attacked a science vessel." "They defended themselves," another official argued. "We scanned them without permission." "That does not justify, does it matter?" Vex-High interrupted. Everyone turned to look at him. "Does it matter who was right or wrong? The fact is, we cannot win a war against them. That is defeatist talk." The military commander snapped. "The hegemony fleet is the strongest in the known galaxy." "The known galaxy," Vex-High repeated. "But we did not know about the humans. What else do we not know?" He brought up the scan data again, focusing on one particular piece of information. "Look at this. The human database mentioned other species. The Kellari swarm, the Darklings, the Silicon mines, species we have never heard of. The humans have been fighting things we did not even know existed." "Perhaps they were lying," someone suggested. "No," said Chief Scientist Drellum K., who had been studying the data. "The information is too detailed to be false. The humans have fought at least 12 different species, and won every time." "How?" the Elder Prime asked. Drellum K. pulled up a historical file from the human database. "This is from something they call World War II, a conflict that happened before they even reached space. Look at the casualty numbers." The numbers appeared on the screen. The room gasped. 70 million dead, in a single war, on a single planet. "They did this to themselves," Drellum K. continued. "And then they got better at it. Their next major war killed 200 million. The one after that would have killed everyone on their planet if they had not stopped it." "They are insane," someone whispered. "No," Vex-High said. "They are survivors. They evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. They survived by becoming the most dangerous thing on that world. And then they took that same approach to space." The Elder Prime stood up. "The question is, what do we do about it?" The debate began. Some wanted to mobilize the fleet, to strike first before the humans could attack. Others wanted to retreat, to put as much distance between the hegemony and human space as possible. Still others wanted to try diplomacy, to make friends with these terrifying creatures. The argument went on for hours. Then Chief Scientist Drellum K. said something that stopped everyone. "I have been analyzing the wormhole technology the humans used. The power requirements are enormous. To create a stable wormhole, you would need the energy output of a star. So the humans did it with a 50-year-old patrol ship, which means they have found a way to generate stellar-level energy in a ship that size." Everyone understood the implication. If the humans could generate that much energy, they could do anything. They could destroy planets, collapse stars, tear holes in reality itself. "We have no choice," the Elder Prime said finally. "We must pursue diplomacy. We will send an envoy to the coordinates they provided." "Who will go?" someone asked. "It could be a trap." "I will go," Vex-High said. Everyone turned to look at him. "Commander, you have already risked enough," the Elder Prime started. "I am the only one who has met them," Vex-High said. "They know me and I think they respect me. Major Chen could have killed us all. She chose not to. That means something." The Elder Prime considered this, then nodded. "Very well. You will take a diplomatic vessel. No weapons, as they requested. But Commander, if this is a trap, then the hegemony will know not to trust the humans. My death will be worth that knowledge." 1 month later, Vex-High stood on the bridge of the diplomatic vessel Peaceful Intent. They had arrived at the coordinates the humans had provided. It was empty space, far from any star system. "No human ships on sensors," his pilot reported. "Wait," Vex-High said. They waited. 1 minute. 5 minutes, 10. Then space tore open. Not one tear. Dozens. Wormholes opened all around them, and human ships poured through, not just patrol vessels like the vengeful Phoenix. These were the ships Major Chen had talked about. The real warships. The smallest was twice the size of the vengeful Phoenix. The largest was... Vexhai's mind could not process it. It was the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons that looked like they could crack planets. By the ancestors, his pilot whispered. A communication came through. It was Captain Harrison, looking exactly as he had a month ago. Commander Vexhai, welcome. Please follow the navigation beacon to Docking Bay 7 on the UNS Prometheus. The Prometheus was the moon-sized ship. As they approached, Vexhai saw details that made his fear grow. The armor was not plates of metal. It was a single piece, as if the entire hull had been grown rather than built. The weapons were not just railguns and missiles. There were things he could not identify, things that hurt to look at. They docked in a bay that could have held 20 ships their size. The artificial gravity was heavier than Zalathi normal. Earth gravity, Vexhai realized. It made walking difficult but not impossible. A human delegation waited for them. Not soldiers this time. These humans wore formal clothing, fabric garments in dark colors. One of them stepped forward. She was older than Major Chen, with gray in her fur and lines on her face. Commander Vexhai, I am Ambassador Margaret Fisher. Welcome to the Prometheus. Ambassador, Vexhai said, trying not to show how much the gravity was affecting him. Thank you for agreeing to meet. Please follow me. We have much to discuss. They walked through corridors that were both familiar and alien. The layout was logical, military. But there were also strange things. Plants growing on the walls, art from a dozen different cultures, and windows showing space that could not possibly be real windows. They were too large, too clear. The conference room was comfortable, even by Zalathi standards. The chairs adjusted automatically to their body shape. The gravity lessened to something more comfortable. The temperature adjusted to their preference. Please sit, Ambassador Fisher said. Would you like refreshments? We have synthesized some Zalathi foods based on your biological data. The fact that they could synthesize alien food from biological data was another impossibility to add to the list. Thank you, Vexhai said, as they ate, and the food was perfect, better than what their own synthesizers made. Ambassador Fisher began to talk. Let me start by apologizing for the incident with your science vessel. Captain Harrison can be aggressive in his defense, but he was following protocol. Your protocol says to attack anyone who scans you? Our protocol says to treat unauthorized scans as acts of aggression. You have to understand, Commander, we have enemies. Species that would use such scans to find weaknesses, to develop weapons specifically designed to kill us. The species you mentioned. The Kalari Swarm, the Darklings, among others. We have been fighting for our survival since we reached space. We thought we were alone in the universe. Then we met the Kalari. They tried to eat us. Eat you? They are a hive mind that consumes biological matter to add to their collective. They saw humanity as food. We disagreed. The war lasted 50 years. What happened? We won. The Kalari no longer exist. The casual way she said it was chilling. An entire species gone, because they threatened humanity. After that, we were more careful. We developed protocols, rules of engagement. We would not attack first, but we would respond to any threat with overwhelming force. It has kept us alive. And now you want to join the galactic community? We want to trade, to learn, to explore, but on our terms. We will not be scanned, studied, or experimented on. We will not share our military technology. We will defend ourselves against any threat. Those are harsh terms. They are necessary terms. Commander, let me show you something. She activated a holographic display. It showed a planet. Earth, Vexhai realized. It was beautiful. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. This is our homeworld. 3 billion years of evolution created us.